Hey, to Info4K from Tech Entourage here, welcome to my channel. Today, Tech Credible video is about this guy over here. This is the 35-70mm f2.8D from Nikon. Let's get into it. This 35-70mm f2.8 AFD was Nikon's flagship professional mid-range zoom of the 1990s and has pretty much the same optical performance as the newest 24-70mm f2.8 AFS, with a lot less size, weight and cost. Instead of paying $1,750 for the 24-70mm f2.8 AFS, which is so big that it's pain to carry around my neck, this 35-70mm f2.8 does the same thing for 1/5 of the price, with 30% less weight, and it's built taller than the newer 24-70mm f2.8 AFS. This 35-70mm f2.8 is much smaller and lighter than any of the AFS lenses and has less distortion too. It weighs more than you may think looking at its small size. It's made mostly of metal and it's loaded with lots of professional glass, but still light enough to make the difference between being carryable and being a pain in the neck. For me, the AFS lenses are only for use in a fixed location, not for carrying all the day. This 35-70mm lens was so good that Nikon's continued to make it even after the 28-70mm f2.8 AFS was announced in 1999, even though amateurs are impressed by the huge 28-70mm f2.8 AFS and today's even bigger 24-70mm f2.8 AFS. But pros still demand this smaller, taller lens. Okay, let's go for compatibilities. This is an FX lens and works perfectly on all FX and auto and manual focus 35mm Nikons, and also works great on most DX Nikons except the very cheapest, on which it won't autofocus. It works fantastically on manual focus cameras like the F2 AS, F3, FE and FA, since it has real manual focus and aperture ring that work exactly as they should. The 35-70mm f2.8 works great with almost every film and digital Nikon camera made since 1977. The only incompatibility is that it won't autofocus with the cheapest cameras like, for example, D40, D40X, D60, D3000, D3100, D3200, D5000 and D5100. But if you focus manually, everything else works great. Those cameras have in-finder focus confirmation dot that will help you with it. By the way, it won't autofocus on an F3 either. On the newest cameras with automatic distortion control, oddly, this lens appears to be incompatible and the feature is grayed out in the menu. Peripheral illumination control works fine and everything else works fine. Let's go for the pricing. The price is low today, but it's the best professional lens Nikon could make for a decade. You can get this lens used for about $250 US. Let's see some specification here. Let's go for the name. Nikon called this lens Nikon AF Zoom Nikon 35-70mm f2.8D, and for the optics it has 15 elements in 12 groups, traditional, spherical design, and multi-coated. For the diagram, we have traditional 7-bladed diagram, stops down to f22. For infrared focus and this, it has the compatibility at 35mm and 70mm. For close-up, it's closed till 2 feet. It has a separate manual macro mode at only 35mm, which gets much closer. For maximum reproduction ratio, it's 1.4 at 35mm in macro mode. For the filter thread, we have 62mm metal, rotates with the focus. For the size, Nikon specifies it's 94 by 71mm and the weight is 670 grams. For the hood, we have the HB1 plastic bayonet. The lens bayonet and the filter thread are metal. Let's go now for the performance. For exhaustive side-by-side image examples to every other Nikon Pro normal zoom, sharpness is great. It's sharp in the corner at all settings. On Nikon FX camera, it's a little softer, wider open in the corners and sharpens up a stop or two down. Even wide open, it's pretty good and much better than the cheaper zooms. Compare it directly to the 24-70mm f2.8 AFS, the 35-70mm f2.8 is only a little softer in the corners, wide open on FX. If you read this, then sure, go get the 24-70mm and lug it around. If you just want great photos and no neck pain, okay, get this one, the 35-70mm. Let's go for the focusing. The front filter ring rotates during focusing but not with zooming. For AF speed is fast, with one full turn of the AF screw bringing one from infinity to 9 feet. The focus ring turns during AF action. I've never had a problem with my fingers getting in the way. The 2 foot or the 0.6 meter close focus distance is just fine for most shooting, and if not, the macro mode also works great. Let's go for the manual focus. On digital and AF cameras, manual focus demands you to move a switch on your camera. An advantage of this corny arrangement is that I can grab the entire lens for stable hand holding after focusing, and that I won't accidentally move the focus as I do with the 24-70mm AFS. The focus ring is well calibrated for manual focus cameras. It's just right and never too fast or too slow. Okay, let's go for ergonomics. While much smaller and lighter than the newer AFS and GF2.8 zooms, this is still much heavier lens than you have expected for its size, because it's loaded with a lot of glass and metal, not just plastic and air. It's almost all metal and feels good in the hand. Pointed down, it tends to flop out to the 35mm setting. The zooming is push-pull. 17mm is collapsed and 35mm is fully extended. The zoom range is fluid between 35 and 50mm. It becomes a little cramped between 50mm and 70mm, requiring a little more attention to set an exact composition, since the zoom moves so little at the longer end. For macro, the macro mode is easier to use than to explain. Just zoom to 35mm, press the left button with your thumb and focus by rotating the entire zoom ring to the left. Focus is manual in the macro mode. Even if you have AF set, it's disengaged automatically. This is great because I prefer to focus manually in macro mode. It's easy to focus manually. I look at the finder's ground glass and turn the ring. I get perfect result even at f2.8. I could use the electronic range finder, but it's easier just to look at the image. The macro mode gets plenty close, 1/4 life size at the image plane, and it's super sharp. For distortion, the Nikon 35-70mm f2.8 has the least distortion of any Nikon professional zoom. On FX it has some barrel distortion at 35 and some function distortion at 70mm. On DX cameras it almost has none. For flare and ghost, okay, flare is this lens weakest point. Pointed into light, there is often veiling flare, and if the sun is in the image, expect a few ghosts. For construction and mechanics, the Nikon 35-70mm f2.8 is much taller than you may think. It was Nikon's top professional mid-range zoom for over a decade and built to take it. For filter thread and bayonet mount, it's anodized aluminium. Focus and zoom rings, metal, covered with a waffle pattern rubber plastic. The barrel is metal. Aperture control ring, plastic. Marking is paint. Internals look like metal. Lens mount is metal. Serial number is laser engraved on the bottom of the aperture control ring. The quality, this lens is made in Japan. Overall, this was Nikon's top professional mid-range zoom for over 10 years, and even with introduction of the 2870 AFS in 1999, pros continued to buy this lens instead for its much smaller size. It's a winner, guys. For recommendation, if you want a screaming bargain on a fast professional mid-range zoom, guys, this is the one. This 35-70mm 2.8 has the same optical performance as today's 24-70mm f2.8 AFS for 1/5 of the price with a lot less size and weight. This 35-70mm has metal filter thread, while the 24-70mm f2.8 AFS is merely plastic, and this older lens has less distortion too. For me, I already made my choice. I bought the 35-70mm f2.8D from Nikon. So what about you? Tell us about your choice. Tell us what do you think about this lens. For any further information, questions or suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. If you are new, please consider subscribing. If you like the video, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. So, see you in the next video. Peace.